Hello to all my fans and friends, I'm the Pyjama Critic, and because now the country has opened back up again, I have to find a new excuse for not going out and socialising. I'm staying put here in the slumber lounge talking about movies. With the powerful impact Pixar have made in the fields of film and animation with Toy Story, all eyes are on this bold new studio to continue to lead the way with more great artwork and stories and show us all the improvements. Many shorts on the Disney Channel allowed this new animation style to be tweaked and perfected, and ultimately A Bug's Life became the second all 3D animated movie to hit our screens. But the children, and us big kids, really wanted to see more of the world of Woody, Buzz and the gang. Give us all an exciting glimpse into what toys do when we're not looking, and naturally we want to see more of their adventures. What would a production studio be like if they ignored the will of their fans? Well, we know the answer to that. Examples are all around us and the evidence hits our screens weekly. But Pixar decided to buck that trend and actually listen to the fans, meaning we got the sequel we all wanted and deserved, just 4 years later. So now let's take far too close a look at Toy Story 2. Released in 1999, directed once again by John Lasseter and starring Tom Hanks, Tim Allen and all the old crowd, plus a few names like Kelsey Grammer and Joan Cusack joining the lineup, the movie tells the story of our toy friends being put under threat of separation as Woody and friends must do everything in their power to avoid being sold to a museum and having to leave Andy's room forever. The in-house nature of Pixar Productions meant that it's not just the cast and director returning for this movie. Randy Newman also provides the score, and the team of animators were largely the same from the first movie. We once again open inside a world of imagination, but this time it's not a game in Andy's room, but rather a snapshot of the sci-fi franchise that gave life to Buzz Lightyear character. Buzz makes his heroic entrance onto a planet where he believes his enemy Zurg is hiding and is immediately proved right. Here we get some insight into this character on which the action figure was based. While this sequence was a fun and effective prelude to the Buzz Lightyear series that followed on the Disney Channel and an exciting way to start the movie, there were some strange decisions with regard to the character.
Buzz Lightyear mission log. All signs point to this planet as the location of Zurg's fortress, but there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Like in the series that followed, Buzz is generally shown as a fearless and highly skilled ranger, but you get odd moments like this where he displays an Inspector Gadget-style bumbling obliviousness. Luckily that is a rare instance, and the rest of the sequence portrays Buzz as a sci-fi answer to Indiana Jones, culminating in this confrontation with Zurg with a surprising outcome. This is how we find out that this wasn't an episode of Buzz's show, but a game that was being played by some of the toys in Andy's room. Not sure what these toys are planning to do if Andy comes in right now and discovers his Super Nintendo is mysteriously on and near the end of a game, but still, I do admire Andy for this, as despite having a SNES in his room, he still makes time to play with his physical toys as well as his video games, so still exercises his imagination muscles. There are a few kids who could learn a lesson from that, like me when I was his age. So, video games aside, it's all go in Andy's room as Woody has an emergency.
Okay, good, okay.
Woody, you haven't found your hat yet, have you?
No! And Andy's leaving for cowboy camp any minute, and I can't find it anywhere!
This serves as a vehicle to once again introduce all the characters in quick-fire succession. Woody, played by Tom Hanks, Buzz, played by Tim Allen, and too many more to list, including new addition Mrs. Potato Head, played by Estelle Harris. Another actor in her 70s, although she had no plans for retirement at this point, as she had only taken up acting at 50 after her children had grown up, and was still taking roles well into her 80s. Here we get to our first glimpse of the antagonist of this movie, toy seller and collector Al, played by Wayne Knight, though we are not given any real insight into his character at this point. We're also shown Buster, the puppy reference at the end of Toy Story, now a 2-year-old playful dog, and in case we were wondering, it is confirmed he is in on the secret of the life of the toys. During a routine playtime, Woody gets injured, reminding us that toys only feel pain when it suits them, and Andy has to make a big decision.
Maybe we can fix him on the way.
No, just leave him.
I'm sorry, honey, but you know, toys don't last forever.
It's a cowboy-themed camp. Surely your cowboy doll is a must. Why wouldn't Andy let his mum apply a couple of stitches before they leave, or on the way? I assume by on the way she means when they stop at a roadside diner, not while driving, giving her the benefit of the doubt that she's not that reckless a driver. Next day, and while his friends play what looks like a rather rigged game of Snap, Woody spots the returning Andy, but...
I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Of course this is a dream. Odd that, because I thought they would all dream of plastic sheep. Give me a wink in the comments if you got that reference. This dream sequence has some highly effective borderline horror with harrowing sounds to match. I only wish it could have gone on longer, but I suppose they didn't want to terrify the child audience. Woody's true nightmare awaits when he wakes up on the shelf, however.
Yard sale. Yard sale! Yard sale! Guys, wake up! There's a yard sale outside!
Yard sale?
So it seems Woody hasn't developed much since the last movie. He still drastically underappreciates his own value and is dogged by paranoia of not being wanted anymore. I love that the sight of a garage sale causes them to go into an emergency recon mission, like there's anything they can do about it if Andy's mum does decide to sell them. It was established in the last movie that the highest priority is hiding their sentience from humans, even if it means letting themselves get sold or even killed. Of course, Andy's mum isn't going to sell the good toys, just some games and a broken toy, prompting Woody to mount a heroic rescue that his friends don't seem to understand at first.
He's getting in the box! He's selling himself for 25 cents!
Oh, Woody, you're worth more than that.
Hold on. He's got something. It's Wheezy!
No wonder they need Woody to lead them. These guys are clueless left to their own devices. The rescue mission is a partial success. Al is back again and keen to give us some insight into Woody's backstory. Seems he is something of an antique, further confirmed by Andy's mum.
$5.
I'm sorry, it's an old family toy.
No!
Now just walk away.
Wait,
The other way.
I'll give you $50 for him.
$50 ain't bad.
An old family toy. Andy has had him since preschool. Could this mean he once belonged to Andy's mum or his absent father? We never find out if Andy's dad has left, died, or we just never see him because he's always at work. But in any event, it would make sense that Andy would be so attached to a toy that was left to him by the dad he misses. End result is, Al steals Woody, and so now it's Buzz's turn to be the hero, in the middle of a suburban street. You know what, I've said all this in the last video, no point in going it over again. Let's just assume all the neighbours are watching TV or writing text messages, which was a harder job in 1999. Took a lot of concentration to write a message on a Nokia 3310. Well, this guy has a personalised licence plate, so we know he's a dick. But got to be fair, it does allow the other toys to ascertain the identity of Woody's kidnapper.
Etch, draw that man in a chicken suit.
It's the Chicken Man!
That's our guy.
Yes, I agree, he looked like a foul guy. I'll let myself out. Which is exactly what Woody is trying to do, having found himself on display in Al's apartment, but his escape attempt is cut short by the arrival of some new toys, who bizarrely all seem to know him. First there's Bullseye, not played by anybody, because somewhere between script drafts his speaking role was cut and he was rewritten as an enthusiastic puppy character. Then there's Jessie, played by Joan Cusack, a character created by John Lasseter's wife, who suggested that since half the kids going to this movie would be girls, they might like to see a girl character with a bit more substance than Bo Peep. Lasseter then asked her to draw and synopsise the character she would have liked to have seen as a preteen girl, and saw to it she was written into the script.
Sweet mother of Abraham Lincoln, the prospector! He'll wanna meet ya!
Also, that line has a lot more significance and is immediately obvious. Lincoln's mother was Nancy Hanks, something like a great-great-great-aunt once removed to old Tom there.
Why, you don't know who you are, do you? Bullseye?
Finally, Stinky Pete, played by Kelsey Grammer, who uses his powers of expositional image reveal to fill Woody in on the backstory he seems to have forgotten. We learned in the last movie that the manner in which a toy is played with will ultimately cause our personality to morph according to the role assigned to them, so we have to assume that long-term separation from other toys in his line has caused his original backstory to slip away from him. Maybe the same will happen to Buzz over time. In a scene that uses such photorealistic animation that many audience members thought it was filmed of real puppets, we have it confirmed just how old Andy's mum went when she called Woody an old family toy. He was a character from a 50s puppet show that may have inspired Andy's dad to get Woody in the first instance. If he was a fan, then he must have been in for a disappointment, because...
Hey, wait a minute, what happened? What happens next? Come on, let's see the next episode!
That's it.
What?
The show was cancelled after that.
Why cancel it?
2 words. Sputnik. Once the astronauts went up, children only wanted to play with space toys.
I know how that feels.
The show was 1 episode away from the end of a story arc. If they didn't want to renew it for another series, then fair enough, but they could have provided a final episode for the few fans that remained. Though from what I understand, American networks did actually have a habit of doing that, and the only reason it's not so much of a problem anymore is because showrunners have the option of finishing up the series after getting pulled off air, with the last couple of episodes being made exclusively for the DVD box set. On with the story, we find out just how pressing Woody's potential fate is.
We're being sold to the Kanishi Toy Museum in Tokyo.
That's in Japan!
Japan? No, I can't go to Japan.
He still has an owner.
Oh my goodness.
No, can't go. I can't do storage again, I just can't!
Jessie.
I get the impression that in a different movie where Woody was no more an established character than Jessie, we could have a split reaction to this, as both characters have fates they have good reason to want to avoid. Of course, as it is, even children watching this will have guessed where this is going to go. Of course Woody is going to try and make his escape and take the others with him, a plan complicated by one more obstacle.
Main attraction. No! His arm! Where's his arm? Oh, no, 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 no! Oh, what am I gonna do?
You can grab a needle and put a couple of stitches in. Honestly, if we want more men to do their fair share of household tasks like sewing and cleaning, then perhaps we should stop planting the idea in the heads of little boys that such simple things are and will forever be beyond their capability. Although in this case, Woody is a delicate and highly valuable object, so it would make sense for Al to leave this to a professional. Meanwhile, Buzz is leading a rescue party, making their way across town to where they know Woody is. There's very little I can say about these snippets that intersperse the scenes at Al's apartment, because they're such short scenes that simply serve to remind us the other toys are on their way. That's just as well, as if they spent any longer on these bits, we might start to ask questions about who may be looking after their windows right now. Back in the apartment, Woody is having his own Indiana Jones moment as he has to tread carefully between a lot of spilled Wotsits to avoid waking the sleeping dragon that is Al. Not sure why he can't just walk around the outside of this mess or just nudge them out of the way, but it makes for a fun, intense sequence that ultimately ends up being for nothing, as it seems somebody in this group is willing to go to any length to prevent Woody from getting away.
What? No, officer, I swear!
From one action scene to another, as the rescue party have reached their final and most dangerous obstacle.
Oh well, we tried.
We'll have to cross. There must be a safe way.
No, by this point in 1999 I'm sure they'd all become Morrisons. Apparently deciding that walking traffic cones will be less conspicuous than action figures crossing the road, the team make their way across with the unintended bonus that they now have a multi-car pile-up to distract from the toys moving in broad daylight. To be honest, by this point I've just decided that these toys are protected from human eyes by the mist. So despite what I said earlier, I am pleased that Al couldn't sew on a doll's arm, as it led to this wonderful gem of a mini scene where a seamster arrives to fix Woody's doll with a toolkit that resembles a mad scientist's lab. This was reworked from part of the first movie's script, where this moment was going to be longer and more detailed. I think it works better in this movie and in this context, and it wouldn't have added anything to Sid's character and might have just made the scene a little darker than intended, whereas here it's comical and can be enjoyed as a prelude to this montage of Woody being restored. So, Buzz and friends have made it to Al's toy shop, closed for the day for restocking, which conveniently removes all customers, allowing the toys to move freely. There are still staff here, but from what we see of them, they're unobservant teens. There are some nice subtle gags about the toy and game industry here, such as this reference to game support manuals that worked more like an essential supplement, as they were the only place to find essential information for successfully playing the game.
You know, they make it so you can't defeat Zurg unless you buy this book. It's extortion, that's what it is. Hey!
Thankfully those have died out in the internet age. Then we have this always popular joke about how toy manufacturers will repeatedly market what is effectively the same toy, adding some minor adjustments so it can be branded as a brand new edition. Plus a not so subtle reference to the first movie. Buzz is running with another Buzz Lightyear doll, tries to answer some questions fans had after the original.
Ow! What are you doing? You're in direct violation of code 6404.5, stating all space rangers are to be in hypersleep until awakened by authorized personnel. No.
So it seems all Buzz Lightyear figures share this delusion, but have imagined instructions to remain still in the presence of humans. It still doesn't explain why only this particular range of toys is affected with this condition, or how they don't question that they're all identical clones of each other. Still, over in another aisle we meet some toys who would like to have starred in the last movie, but their bosses didn't have enough confidence in the project, namely a shelf full of Barbies, played by Jodie Benson, by which I mean Jodie Benson, who you all know best as Ariel the Little Mermaid, plays any Barbie with a speaking role in all Toy Story movies and shorts. It is worth noting at this point that Mattel were not alone in failing to have confidence in how popular the first Toy Story would be. Toy manufacturers and sellers also underestimated just how many kids were going to love this movie and want the toys, as Tour Guide Barbie points out.
And this is the Buzz Lightyear aisle. Back in 1995, short-sighted retailers did not order enough dolls to meet demand.
Hey, Buzz!
Halt! Who goes?
Buzz! Buzz! I know how to defeat Zurg!
You do?
Come on, I'll tell you on the way.
As they all meet up, a combination of another Buzz Lightyear's dysphoria and the other toy's idiocy mean they end up picking up the wrong guy. Meanwhile, with Woody's arm fixed and Al busy on the phone, Woody is once again set on making his escape, causing more tension between him and his Roundup co-stars. The crux of the matter being that Jessie and Pete want to go to the museum, where new children will come and see them every day, and they have to inform Woody the harsh truth that his bond with Andy won't last because children grow up and stop playing with toys. Jessie makes her point by telling the story of her own experience of being a little girl's favourite toy. This beautiful and emotional musical sequence really gets that point across, but we're almost cut because some executives thought that it slowed the movie down too much and that our child audience would get restless. However, after a test screening for the cast members that resulted in Tom Hanks and Tim Allen simultaneously breaking down in tears, it was decided it had to be kept. Ultimately, Woody is convinced and decides to stay with them.
How long will it last, Woody? Do you really think Andy is going to take you to college? Or on his honeymoon?
Who am I to break up the Roundup gang?
Over the road in the toy store, several things are happening at once. The toy ensemble in Al's office are still oblivious to having the wrong Buzz with them. Al is making his deal with the owner of a Japanese museum.
Quick, into the poultryman's cargo unit. He'll lead us to Zurg. Move, move, move!
Don't touch my mustache!
That's not just Al getting so excited he spits out random words. That phrase is used as an aid to memory for Brits and Americans learning Japanese to learn the phrase "Duitashi muste," meaning you're welcome, provided you don't butcher it like I just did. Finally, the real Buzz is making a daring attempt to catch up with his toy pals in Al's carry bag. An attempt with varying levels of success that ultimately inadvertently awakens an action figure of the villain of the Buzz Lightyear franchise, Emperor Zurg. Many small roles in Pixar productions are filled by the writers or animators. In this case, it's Andrew Stanton, the longest serving member of Pixar staff and currently Vice President of Creative Projects, practically the top man in the studio. Of course, he thinks he is the real Zurg and is driven by an instinct to...
Destroy Buzz Lightyear! Destroy Buzz Lightyear! Destroy!
Trying to gain entry into Al's apartment complex, Rex gives a reference to another movie being storyboarded that wouldn't be completed for another decade.
How are we gonna get up there? Maybe if we find some balloons, we could float to the top. Are you kidding?
While the imposter Buzz gets them in.
Mission locked. Have infiltrated enemy territory without detection and are making our way through the bowels of Zurg's fortress.
You know, I think that buzz owl went to his head.
That air vent seems oddly small. I have it on good authority that air ducts in buildings are just large enough for a fully grown Bruce Willis or Sigourney Weaver to climb through. With similar dumb luck to our Buzz in the first movie, this Buzz manages to stumble his party to Al's apartment, all the while still believing himself to be the real deal. With our Buzz hot on his heels, we enter the final act as, by means of an Abbott and Costello level of joke...
What are we gonna do, Buzz?
Use your head.
all the tracks of this story meet up for the finale. So of course we have arrived at the spoiler section of this review. As always, if you don't want to know how this movie goes, then skip to this time code. Otherwise it's all hands and paws on as Woody and friends catch up.
Woody, you're not a collector's item. You're a child's plaything. You are a toy!
For how much longer?
We get this incredible moment with inverted references to the first movie, as it's not just the characters delivering the lines being swapped, but also their meaning, as Woody of old was keen to get back to Andy at all costs, while his new outlook means he is resisting all attempts to get him to return. Entertaining though this is, the drama feels like an anticlimax, certainly since the audience has largely guessed where this is going. Of course, Woody decides to go back and finally thinks to make the offer every kid watching has been yelling at the screen.
Hey, you guys! Come with me.
What?
Andy will play with all of us. I know it.
Woody,
This predictable moment, however, is counterbalanced by this shock reveal that really did come as a surprise. The antagonist, who appears to be on the hero's side before turning and showing his true colours in the final act, is a staple of many animated movies now, but it was unexpected then, as this was the first time such a character had been used, not just by Pixar, but in all Disney history.
Prospector, this isn't fair!
Fair? I'll tell you what's not fair. Spending a lifetime on a dime store shelf.
Pete reveals he was bitter about being the least popular toy in the Roundup gang, much like the real-life Woody dolls were shunned in '95 in favour of the Buzzes, and in the absence of kids ever wanting to play with him, he's keen to be admired instead. This obstruction is enough to prevent Woody from getting away in time, so he is packed by Al. The other toys give chase by jumping on top of the elevator, and while the other Buzz and Zurg are distracting parents nerding out over references to another iconic sci-fi battle.
I'll never give in. You killed my father.
No, Buzz. I am your father.
Our Buzz and friends do the best they can to rescue Woody. Just time to fit in this Easter egg that the toys steal.
Does anyone know how to drive?
Sleek, take the pedals. Rex, you navigate. Ham and Potato, operate the levers and knobs.
Pizza Planet Guy's insurance is never going to believe that. This time I'm pleased the chase sequence is fairly short. I imagine even kids in the audience would start asking too many questions if the toy driving scene went on much longer. Rather we just get straight to the airport, where we are given a much more fun and exciting action sequence a la Die Hard 2, only slightly hindered by this rather overdone joke with a sticker stuck to Buzz. I would say that's a little on the nose, but that would invite a whole lot more bad jokes in the comments. A brief fight and Stinky Pete is sent away for a terrible fate.
Well, Stinky Pete, I think it's time you learned the true meaning of playtime. Right over there, guys! No! No! No!
Ooh, he needs a makeover. Hi!
You'll like Amy. She's an artist.
That's worse than the Action Man my nan insisted on giving me. At least he only ends up getting pushed around in the pram. So one more moment of tension as Woody tries to rescue Jessie from being sent to Japan in a cargo hold.
Hold it! There's a couple more bags coming from the terminal.
Just have to mention the brief cameo from Andy Peters, a children's TV presenter who happened to be in the studio for a documentary at the time. Also somebody I admired in my youth because he was the first children's presenter to come out as gay while still working on air. They escape the plane in a physics-defying stunt that I'll overlook because animation, and they apparently steal another vehicle and make it back home in time for Andy to arrive. All is well, Andy loves his new toys that he assumes Mum got for him. We have a hint of romance between Jess and Buzz that is thankfully not continued in any other sequels, and we finally get to see the license plate A113, this being the point where eagle-eyed fans were starting to look out for that Easter egg and were excited to spot it. We end with a song and an early example of the gag reel, which is now regarded as a Pixar staple.
And an extra bouncy ball. And some extra teeth. Be careful, they chatter.
Whoa!
Huh? Darn it, Woody!
Okay, let's go again.
So that was Toy Story 2, and it's really what a sequel needs to be. When the toy world and these characters were first introduced to us, it should have been clear there were multiple stories to be had out of it. In fact, the story itself was largely made up of ideas considered for the first movie. Starting with the basic concept of what might toys do if they were alive when kids weren't watching, the ensuing brainstorming session for the story ideas around that theme was enough for at least 2 movies, possibly more, and that really shows here. There is no rehashing of old plot points, just some familiar characters and a brand new story. This was the first sequel for most of the cast, apart from Annie Potts who had been in Ghostbusters 2, and they agreed to do it because they loved the script. Fresh, intense, and really helps to expand the world previously established. Sure, the pacing is erratic in parts and some of the adventure sequences go a bit fast, that is to say I would have liked a bit more suspense, but I just have to take into account that 40-year-old film nerds weren't exactly the target audience here, and the scenes had to be made to suit 90s kids and their short attention spans. The toy antagonist is a fantastic addition, and even the irrelevant subplots provide for some quality comedy and action. All the performances are spot on once again. Randy Newman hits another grand slam with his score, and of course the already stellar animation has been greatly improved. I highly recommend pausing some scenes in this movie just to admire the detail in the artwork, unless you're watching it with your kids, they might not have the same appreciation and just get annoyed with you. Thank you for watching, remember to treat my channel like a brand new toy and try all the buttons, apart from the dislike button, or if you're already subbed then don't hit that button because that will unsubscribe you. Well anyway, just remember to like, share, comment and subscribe if you haven't already to get new reviews in your inbox every Friday. I've been the Pyjama Critic, and remember, if you see traffic cones walking across the street, just calmly swerve around them. Whoever's under there thinks you can't see them and it's best to play along.
Buzz, are you coming? No, I have a lot of catching up to do with my dad.
Good throw, son. That's my boy.